Recently, there has been a rise in Islamophobia in Europe and in the United States. As a secular humanist, I couldn't help but ponder about this phenomenon and wanted to share my 2 cents on its roots. Like most people watching the news, the cause appears fairly obvious. It's simply Islamist fatigue. Over the past 2 decades, terrorism and barbaric behavior by a specific segment of fundamentalist Islamists, such as ISIS and Al Qaeda, has created an us versus them atmosphere here in the West. The resentment for these Islamist militant groups is valid, as their brutal behavior leaves little to be excused by modern day human rights. The problem, however, arises in our communities when an extension of our fear and hatred for these fringe elements of an ideology shapes our views about an entire religion made up of ordinary people. Suddenly, we replace a valid fear of terrorism with an irrational phobia about the identity of a much larger group, Muslims. First, let's understand what a phobia is. A phobia is a disproportionate fear response to an actual danger or something that's seemingly dangerous. In order to understand the topic of phobias, let's use an analogy. When I ask you to imagine a shark, what picture do you see in your mind? You will most likely see a great white shark. If not, then you will probably see a bull shark, a tiger shark, or a reef shark, or even a hammerhead shark, right? Well, what do all these sharks have in common? These sharks are all the most infamous sharks in the oceans, and we've been told by a panel of experts and oceanographers that these few are especially dangerous to humans. And in fact, the term shark stirs up anxiety or fear in most people's mind, primarily due to a single motion picture franchise about a vicious great white shark. Yes, Jaws. When this movie came out in the 70s, millions of swimmers skipped beach that summer and thousands of fishermen were mobilized all of a sudden to the open waters to hunt down these scary monsters, and it took them almost to their extinction. In reality, however, the shark family is not made up entirely of this 5 or 6 marginally dangerous man-eaters that are portrayed in the various Hollywood movies and Discovery Channel Shark Week marathons. In reality, these 5 species of sharks represent a fraction of over 300 different species of shark that currently roam the oceans and are of no threat to humans. In fact, some sharks are only the size of the palm of your hand. So, despite the knowledge that the word shark has been tainted by the behavior of a handful of sharks, the association of the word shark with danger has been largely ingrained in our brain by repetitious bloody images of Hollywood TV and news media. So, no wonder that we still find ourselves helpless, fearful when we dip into the ocean. It is fair to say that we're byproducts of a news and media organization where information falls into an endless cycle of fear leading to higher ratings. Unfortunately for most of us, truth and statistics cannot overcome the wiring of the brain. Our brain evolved over millions of years to protect itself against natural threats by erring on the side of safety. Therefore, our natural inclination is one of generalization. We generalize, we demonize, and we create mobs to eliminate these perceived threats. So, it's a limitation of the mind to analyze our fears realistically. In the modern society, however, such phobias have actual negative consequences. They create isolation and social exclusion that inevitably leads to unrest and further side effects for the society as a whole. So, what are we supposed to do? Well, we should begin by having an open mind and think rather than react. To extend my shark analogy, we should aim to address specific threats posed by specific sharks by taking helpful precautions But we really shouldn't skip swimming altogether and go on a shark hunting rampage expedition to appease our uncontrollable phobias and fears. Whatever we do, our actions will be a permanent part of history. And I, for one, would rather come from a place of wisdom and understanding and love rather than a place of fear and anger.